Villains fight heroes. It's the bread and butter of Marvel, DC, and several other comic book publishers' universes. However, it's equally fair to say that some of the most interesting confrontations in the superhero genre haven't involved heroes at all, but actually a villain pitted against another of their fellow rogues. I'm Ewan, this is What Culture Comics, and here are 10 times supervillains killed other villains. Number 10. Ruin kills Mr. Mxyzptlk. Rack and Ruin. It might be unfair to label Mr. Mxyzptlk as a straight-up villain, given he's more a mischievous imp in the vein of a mythological trickster god or Jules on a bad day, but it's equally fair to say that he's caused a lot of grief for Superman over the years, and has skirted into supervillain territory more than once or twice. The character's main goal has always been to torment and test the Man of Steel, but Kal-El has proven more than capable of outwitting Mxy and banishing him back to the 5th dimension by getting him to say his own name backwards. Over time, the pair even came to respect one another, becoming friends, and during the events of the 2006 storyline, Rack and Ruin, an amnesia-afflicted Mxyzptlk was cast in unquestionably sympathetic terms as he struggled to get back home. But a villain he once was, and during the Greg Rucka, Nuncio De Filippis, Christina Weir, and Renato Guedes comic, Mxy and Supes' friendship came to a tragic end. During a fight with Ruin, a then new villain on the block who was later revealed to be Emil Hamilton, everyone's favourite 5th-dimensional imp is impaled by a kryptonite spear meant for Superman, and effectively dies, saving the Man of Steel's life. Mxy tries to save himself by saying his own name backwards before vanishing, and does later return and count down to Infinite Crisis, but there's no getting away from just how tragic a sacrifice his was. Number 9. Joker kills Alexander Luthor. Infinite Crisis. I don't know if you know this, but the Joker is a serial double-crosser and one with no proclivity towards preserving human life. I know, shocker. If you tick him off or just happen to be in his path, even if you're a henchman, as Batman 1989's Bob unluckily discovered, it's a solid chance he's going to kill you just for the hell of it. The Joker can also be extremely deliberate with his violence, however, as was the case with 2005's Infinite Crisis. Following Alexander Luthor Jr.'s attempts to remake the multiverse into one perfect reality, he finds himself cornered by Lex Luthor and Joker from New Earth, aka the mainstream DC continuity. Joker scars Luthor Jr. with acid and then brains him with a gun, all because the alt Luthor didn't include him in his scheme in the first place. Number 8. Catwoman kills Black Mask. Catwoman Volume 3. Catwoman is another character who left behind the mantle of supervillain years ago, becoming a staunch ally of the Bat family along the way, but there's no escaping the fact she was once a key member of Batman's Rogues Gallery too. And despite Selina Kyle adopting the less-than-lethal methods of Gotham's vigilantes in recent years, she's definitely less reluctant to cross the line the Dark Knight and his allies daren't touch. One of the most famous instances of Catwoman crossing that line came in the 3rd volume of the character's series, where her rivalry with Black Mask, aka Roman Sionis, was rekindled. Sionis and Kyle had crossed paths before, with the former attempting to reduce Catwoman's entire existence to ashes during Ed Brubaker's stellar run on the character in the early 2000s. Black Mask's reign of terror in Gotham's East End was brought to an end by Catwoman only for Sionis to exact brutal revenge on Kyle's loved ones, including her sister, who he tortured and fed pieces of her dead husband to. This bloody back and forth was only going to end one way, and in Catwoman number 52 by Will Pfeiffer and Pete Woods, Selina shot Sionis point blank in the head, killing him instantly. Number 7. Zod kills Captain Boomerang. Suicide Squad 2016. There are a few mainstays of DC's Suicide Squad, but one in particular who met a brief demise at the hands of a famous adversary of Superman's was Captain Boomerang. During the 2016 Suicide Squad series written by Rob Williams and with art from Jim Lee, Scott Williams, and Alex Sinclair, Task Force X unwittingly uncover a portal to the Phantom Zone. Rather than just, leaving it be, Boomer approaches the portal and is incinerated instantly by General Zod, who was lying in wait. And while Harkness does manage to rematerialize a few issues later due to some classic comic book shenanigans, this was definitely one of the punchier openings to a comic in recent years. Number 6. Loki kills Laufey, War of the Realms. Event comics tend to justifiably get a bad rap among comic readers. They're annual, encroach into even the more self-contained series, and just generally tend to be overhyped and somewhat vacuous. All things that cannot be said, however, about 2018's War of the Realms, which saw Jason Aaron, Russell Dauterman, and Matt Wilson's mighty Thor run come to a phenomenal end. With Malekith's deadly coalition invading Earth, Thor had to rally his allies from Midgard and take down the Dark Elf once and for all. At the same time, Loki, who had been working as a double agent for Asgard as a part of Malekith's Dark Council, finally betrayed his father Laufey, whose frost giants were part of the invading forces marching on Earth. Laufey eats his son, as is the grand tradition of gigantic Marvel characters, it would seem, but Loki manages to hold himself together inside, until eventually Daredevil, now the coolest god without fear ever, and equipped with Heimdall's sword Hofund, threw his weapon into Laufey's mouth, allowing Loki to cut through his father, killing him in the process. And yeah, Loki hasn't been a traditional supervillain for a while now, given he makes such a habit out of doing the right thing eventually, but that doesn't make those occasions any less gratifying when they arrive. Number 5. Venom kills Sandman, Dust in the Wind. Okay, so this comic actually traumatized me as a young reader. It's one of the first ones I actually read in one of those little Panini collections that we used to get in the UK, and yeah, seeing Sandman die was not a good time, all things considered. Shortly after leaving his days as a hero behind him, because Marvel is a glutton for the status quo like that, Sandman took to reforming the Sinister Six to go after Spider-Man. The stripy t-shirted villain recruited a number of legacy villains for his new look alliance, but also brought back an old one in Eddie Brock's Venom. Venom, who had also recently reverted to type after spending much of the 90s as an anti-hero, betrayed Sandman and the two got into a fight. Things quickly take a turn for the worse though, as Brock takes a huge chunk out of Sandman's body, causing him to destabilize and break down, unable to stop himself from dissipating into a nearby storm drain. It's a pretty awful death and a tragic end at the time for Sandman, who eventually winds up as a part of the natural scenery in a nearby beach. He does eventually return, but not as his old self, as the years spent separated from his corporeal form left his mind in tatters. Number 4. Joker kills Mr. Freeze. Robin 2, Joker's Wild. Before Batman the Animated Series reinvented Mr. Freeze in the critically acclaimed Heart of Ice, the character was treated pretty disposably by DC, and not without reason. First of all, the original incarnation lacked the iconic design from the animated series. Some of the hallmarks of the character were present, such as the cryosuit and the transparent helmet, but he lacked the ice-white skin or the red goggles that have proven synonymous in the years since, nor the compelling backstory developed by Paul Dini in Heart of Ice. Because Freeze was generally so forgettable and just naff at the time, even after Crisis on Infinite Earths reordered the publisher's continuity, the character was actually murdered by the Joker in 1991's Robin 2, Joker's Wild number 1. The Clown Prince of Crime unceremoniously electrocutes Freeze with his hand buzzer for attempting to take over his own gang, calling him Glazier Face to add insult to injury. When Heart of Ice dropped the following year, winning a trough of awards and cementing BTAS as no ordinary children's cartoon, DC moved quickly to integrate the series' interpretation of the character into the comics, revealing that Freeze had actually regenerated after being stored in a block of ice. Number 3. Magneto kills Apocalypse. Age of Apocalypse. Age of Apocalypse was one of the biggest X-Men events of the 1990s, and kicked off when Professor X's son, Legion, travelled back in time in a bid to kill Magneto, only for it to result in the death of his own father, and leave no one to stop Apocalypse from taking over the planet. In a twist, however, this reality vomits up a new leader of the X-Men in a more moderate Magneto. Come the end of the event, Eric fought Apocalypse one-on-one and, using all of his powers, ripped the ancient tyrant apart, killing him in the process. Number 2. Thanos kills Galactus. Thanos wins. Okay, so technically speaking, Galactus is more a force of nature than an out-and-out villain, but try telling the countless civilizations he's ended that. All the same, the character is often presented as an antagonist, and his interests, i.e. scanning down the Earth because he's hungry and maybe a bit dehydrated, usually don't align with those of Marvel's heroes. One thing that does prove that Galactus isn't as bad as others in the galaxy, however, is the fact he doesn't really get along with Thanos. The Mad Titan is one of the most ruthless villains in cosmic Marvel history, and it's always been the case that the two just do not get on at all. Without the Infinity Gauntlet, Galactus is usually able to beat Thanos without exerting himself too heavily. However, at the height of his powers, there are none who can stand in Thanos' path, as Galactus and his herald, the Cosmic Ghost Rider, unfortunately discovered in 2017's Thanos wins. Seeking to ally himself with Earth's heroes in order to take down a rampaging Thanos, Galactus discovered the planet's entire population was already killed, with Frank Castle, the then Ghost Rider, the only one left. Galactus imbues the Rider with the power cosmic, hoping the two of them could defeat Thanos for good, but the outcome wasn't exactly optimal. Thanos unleashes a powerful blast that takes Galactus' head clean off, thereby getting the last word in on a rivalry that had spanned centuries. And number 1. Dr. Doom kills Thanos. Secret Wars 2015. Jonathan Hickman is a blockbuster comic book writer, and 2015's Secret Wars represents the conclusion of over a decade's worth of his storytelling in the Marvel Universe. Secret Wars pulled together Hickman's work on Fantastic Four and the Avengers, drawing to a close some arcs that commenced in 2013 and others that began a long time before. With Dr. Doom receiving the power of the Beyonders at the conclusion of time runs out, the Laverian dictator is able to save reality from complete destruction. The catch? Well, Victor merges all reality into a place called Battleworld, which he rules over as God Emperor. Doom's new reality comes with the added bonus, for him, of having no Reed Richards and Susan Storm being his wife. All in all, old Doomy has it pretty made. But, there are still challenges for the omnipotent God Emperor. Certain characters manage to survive the merging of realities and retain their memory of what life was like before, and one of them was Thanos. Thanos, perhaps naively, challenges Doom's authority on the battlefield. Doom offers him a place as one of Battleworld's barons, but the Mad Titan, living up to his name in this instance, refuses. Doom then plunges his hands deep into his chest and rips out Thanos' spinal column, holding his skull in his hand like a snazzy new bowling ball and imitating Mortal Kombat in the process. Thanos would return along with the rest of the Marvel Universe once Reed Richards and Molecule Man restored reality, but as far as villain-on-villain executions go, this was pretty brutal. And those were just 10 occasions where supervillains killed the competition. What are your favourite villain-on-villain betrayals? Let me know in the comments below, drop the video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe so you don't miss another upload. I've been Ewan, catch me on Twitter @EwanRuinsThings, and I will see you next time. Bye!